Hey there, folks. Grab a seat because I've got a story for you. A wild ride I experienced during one of my long shifts at Target. Picture this. I'm working tirelessly, grinding away to save up for the college dreams that lie ahead. Little did I know that fate had a different plan for me that day as I crossed paths with none other than the notorious Karen. Buckle up because this story is about to take you on a roller coaster of madness. It all started on a busy Saturday afternoon. The store was bustling with shoppers looking for the best deals and snatching up their favorite items. I was stationed at the electronics section, helping customers find the latest gadgets and answering their tech-related questions. The day had been quite hectic already, but little did I know that things were about to escalate to a whole new level. Enter Karen. Her name isn't actually Karen, but let's go with that to stick to the stereotype. She strolled into the electronics department, wearing an expression of entitlement, as if the entire store existed solely to cater to her whims. Her hair was perfectly coiffed, and she carried an aura of self-importance that was hard to ignore. Karen walked up to me with a disapproving scowl on her face, demanding my immediate attention. Without a second to spare, she began unleashing her fury, claiming that the television she had purchased last week was faulty and she wanted a refund. As a diligent employee, I assured her that I would do my best to assist her. I examined her receipt and the television she had brought in. Everything seemed to be in order, but Karen wasn't convinced. She ranted about the inconvenience this had caused her, and how we were wasting her precious time. I tried my best to remain calm, offering her a refund or an exchange, but she refused, insisting that she deserved something more substantial. A gift card, perhaps as compensation for her pain and suffering. Now, dear reader, I must admit that dealing with entitled individuals like Karen isn't an uncommon occurrence in retail. I had encountered my fair share of demanding customers, but this particular Karen took things to a whole new level. She began raising her voice, drawing the attention of nearby shoppers and my fellow colleagues. As I stood my ground, trying to defuse the situation, Karen decided to take matters into her own hands, quite literally. With a swift motion, she reached across the counter and knocked over a display of cell phone cases, scattering them across the floor. The chaos in the air was palpable as gasps echoed throughout the department. My heart raced, torn between the desire to maintain my composure and the frustration of being treated so disrespectfully. I mustered the courage to call for backup, alerting my manager of the escalating situation. Meanwhile, Karen continued her tirade, hurling insults and unfounded accusations my way. To my relief, help arrived in the form of our store manager, Mr. Johnson. He was known for his calm demeanor and ability to diffuse even the most difficult situations. He approached Karen with a friendly smile, attempting to reason with her and find a solution that would satisfy her demands. Unfortunately, Karen wasn't interested in finding a resolution. She had crossed the line of reason long ago and seemed hell-bent on causing a scene. At this point, her antics had attracted the attention of other customers, some of whom were recording the spectacle with their smartphones. The tension reached its peak when Karen decided to dial emergency services, claiming that she had been assaulted by a store employee, none other than yours truly. The audacity of her false accusations was mind-boggling. I watched in disbelief as Karen spun a web of lies, fabricating a story that painted me as the villain. Within minutes, the sound of sirens filled the air as 2 police officers rushed into the store. They quickly assessed the situation and approached Karen, asking her to provide a detailed account of the alleged assault. As she continued her exaggerated narrative, the officers took note of the surrounding evidence, including the footage recorded by concerned customers. With their professional judgment, the police officers could discern the truth from the lies. They turned to me and requested my side of the story. I recounted the events, from Karen's initial complaint to her explosive behavior, and the officers attentively listened. After a brief discussion, they decided to review the security camera footage to gather further evidence. Minutes turned into an eternity as we waited for the footage to be retrieved. The store fell into a hushed silence, the air thick with anticipation. Finally, the officers returned and what they showed us left everyone speechless. The security footage revealed Karen's outrageous behavior, capturing her knocking over the cell phone display, berating me with derogatory language, and making false accusations. It was clear as day that Karen had fabricated her story to tarnish my reputation and evade the consequences of her own actions. Confronted with the undeniable truth, Karen's demeanor shifted. She went from being a raging storm to a pitiful rain shower. The officers informed her that she was being taken into custody for filing a false police report and causing public disturbance. They handcuffed her, and the sound of the cuffs clicking shut brought a mix of relief and justice to everyone who had been caught in the whirlwind of her entitlement. As Karen was escorted out of the store, the surrounding shoppers erupted into applause, expressing their support and appreciation for the police officers who had diligently pursued the truth. Mr. Johnson, my manager, patted me on the back, acknowledging my patience and resilience throughout the ordeal. In the aftermath of this unforgettable encounter, I couldn't help but reflect on the absurdity of the situation. The lengths some individuals go to satisfy their self-centered desires truly baffle me. But through it all, I learned valuable lessons about resilience, maintaining composure under pressure, and the importance of seeking justice in the face of adversity. So, my friends, that's the story of my crazy encounter with Karen at Target, a roller coaster ride of entitlement, false accusations, and ultimately, justice. It's a tale I'll never forget and one that has only strengthened my determination to achieve my college dreams. And you can bet that when I finally make it to campus, I'll have plenty of stories to share. Remember, folks, be kind to retail workers. They're just trying to make a living and pursue their dreams. And if you ever come across a Karen in the wild, take a deep breath, stand your ground, and let justice prevail. I used to work for a company where we went into schools in our area to perform a free 1-hour wacky science show teaching kids the importance of saving water. Our local area relies on aquifers, underground porous rock that stores rainfall, for the majority of our water, so it's important to teach kids both about how the water cycle works where we live and about not to waste water. This incident occurred 5 years ago, just came up on my Facebook memories, and it very much fits this sub. Myself and my colleague were at a school in a very affluent area performing an hour water show, teaching the kids in our own inimitable, irreverent way. The school had invited parents into the assembly, so we had about 30 or so parents seated at the back of the hall along with the 200 or so kids. After the show, which went down an absolute treat, my colleague had gone to collect the car, couldn't park near the school, whilst I had remained behind to tidy up and move all our kit to the front entrance to the school where he would be pulling up. Suddenly, a parent came up to speak to me. Karen, hello. Do you mind if I have a quick word? Nee, of course not. Karen, well, let me start off by telling you how fantastic that show was. Me, waiting for the but. Thank you very much. Karen, but... My internal monologue. There it is. Karen, I was wondering if you noticed that you picked more boys than girls as your volunteers rather than an equal number of each. Nee, you're asking me if I realized that I didn't pick an equal number of boys and girls as my volunteers? Karen, yes. Nee, yes, I was aware of this. Mainly because we need an odd number of volunteers in the show. It's very difficult to keep the numbers of each equal when the total number is odd. Karen looks at me whilst trying to think. Me, did you notice that whilst we picked 4 boys and 2 girls for the aquifer experiment, we picked a girl as the solo volunteer for the toothbrushing experiment? And the toothbrushing volunteer does a lot more than the aquifer volunteers do. So yesterday, when we did this exact same show in a different school, we had 4 girls and 2 boys for the aquifer experiment, and then a boy for the toothbrush. We always try and keep things as fair as possible. Karen, I'm just saying because my daughters were here today and I want them to enjoy science. Nee, well, hopefully they did. Karen, I also noticed that on your banner, indicates pop-up banner off to one side, that you have 2 boys and 1 girl on that. That's hardly equal. Nee, true, but with the size of the banner, 3 children was the right number. 2 would have left too much empty space, whilst 4 would have been too crowded. Karen, then why didn't they pick 2 girls? Nee, because we made several mock-ups of the banner and showed them to different children, and the most popular design was that one. Karen, well, I don't think. Nee, interrupting. You may be pleased to see that the fun pack that each child gets to take home has one boy and one girl on the cover. Picks up pack and shows her, Karen, that's nice. Karen walks off. Teacher comes over to me. Teacher, what was all that about? Nay, apparently I need to find a way to pick an equal number of boys and girls despite the total number adding up to an odd total. Teacher, because you didn't pick either of her 2 daughters as any of your handful of volunteers out of 200 children in the school? Nay, it would seem that way. Teacher, what did you say to her? Me. Basically, that 7 isn't divisible by 2, but across multiple schools we make sure to keep things equal. Teacher, and what did she say? Nay, that's nice. This incident took place a while ago when I was a college student. I had developed effective study habits and techniques over time, and on that particular day I found myself engrossed in preparing for an upcoming test. I had set up camp at a single table in the local library, meticulously organizing my study materials with an array of colored pens, pencils, markers, and highlighters. Immersed in my work, I barely noticed when a sweet and adorable little girl approached me politely, asking if she could borrow some paper and colored pencil. Regrettably, I had to decline her request. The little girl smiled understandingly, nodded, and returned to her mother. Just as I was about to resume my studies, the little girl's mother suddenly appeared beside me, her face contorted with anger. It was evident that she was furious. She demanded that I either share my belongings with her daughter or pack them away completely. I couldn't help but feel sorry for the little girl who looked miserable and embarrassed by her mother's behavior. I stared at the entitled mother, utterly taken aback by her sheer sense of entitlement. While I had heard similar stories before, I had always assumed they were exaggerated. Attempting to maintain my composure, I firmly asked her to leave me alone and go away. In response, she accused me of being disrespectful to my elders. Rolling my eyes in exasperation, I retorted, I am at least a few years older than you, lady. Her reaction was swift and explosive, prompting the librarian to intervene. Now, let me tell you, I had never seen this librarian display anything but kindness and warmth. She was like the beloved grandmother figure to everyone in the library, and I had considered her to be a gentle soul. However, on that day, her demeanor transformed from sweet grandma to a fierce defender. She unleashed a torrent of reprimands at the entitled mother, leaving me in awe of her newfound ferocity. Addressing the entitled mother, the librarian shouted, "What did I tell you about coming here again? Your daughter is welcome here, but you are not. You have been banned from this place for harassing everyone here. Get out now." The sight was astonishing, and I could hardly believe my eyes. It felt as if my jaw had dropped to the floor. The entitled mother, taken aback by the librarian's sudden assertiveness, quickly retreated. In a matter of seconds, the librarian transformed back into her sweet elderly grandmother persona. She walked over to the little girl, offering her a comforting hug and a gentle kiss on the forehead. She then came over to me, checking if I was okay, and grinned mischievously at my shocked expression. I always let people assume I'm too sweet to be tough. The element of surprise can be quite effective, she confided with a wink. I nodded in both understanding and gratitude, realizing that I would not be able to regain my focus for the rest of the day. With a mix of admiration and astonishment, I began packing up my belongings, acknowledging that my study session had come to an unexpected and eventful end.